that good?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that Dana said that I didn't say that is so important is that business is relationships. And I think sometimes we forget about that. You know, we're so technological now. And I find, for example, and I'm sure, and my associates in the gallery would say the same thing. I call them my associates. That people like to come into the gallery they don't always buy, but they like to come into a place where they've established a relationship.
Yeah, and they like talking to the owner.
Yeah.
For whatever, yeah, where my worker, Courtney, I have a manager now. I mean, that's good. I've employed a girl, and she started with me when she was in 11th grade, part-time on a Saturday. And I told her she doesn't even realize this. I'm training her to take over the tuxedo business when I'm gone. And I said, you don't even know what I'm doing for you. And she says, no, I don't. I said, you will, because I am setting you up that when I'm retired, which will be 50 years from now, because I'm going to be 100, that I'm going to, she can walk right into it.
That's great.
Dana, why did you say it's got to be downtown?
There is something that I've always loved about that downtown feeling. And I think it's the camaraderie that the merchants have with each other, because we're all kind of in the same, you know, for the most part, especially retailers, you rely on the people who walk in off the streets. Whereas some other business, you know, you can kind of do that anywhere, a lot of internet or whatever. But we rely on people who walk in off the streets, and I just like that camaraderie with the other merchants. And it actually, some of the merchants are my best kind of therapy, because we can get together and we know all the, you know, you can't complain to a customer about another customer, and you can't complain to somebody who doesn't know. But when we start getting together, and then I realize that those other people have the same issues that I have, and I'm not, you know, alone. But I just love being downtown. I like seeing the people walking down the street and the hustle and the bustle.
You think rent is the biggest barrier too?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People are leaving, businesses are closing in Shepherdstown and even relocating to Martinsburg, for example. The Design Center, which relocated to Burke Street, West Burke, I think, came to Martinsburg because they just got priced out of the market in Shepherdstown.
Well, and I know that when I first opened up Deja Vu, I had talked to Ben Fogel, who, if you're in real estate, know he owns that Shenandoah Hotel, those buildings there. And he had just said to me that, you know, your rent's going to be your rent should be a quarter of whatever you're bringing in. Well, if a business is only bringing in, you know, $3,000 a month, or, you know, some months, and I have no bones about it. My husband cringes. You know what I did in sales? Now, we're not talking tuxedos. We're talking Deja Vu. I only did $1,200 in sales in February. That's how slow it was. And then I have to pay an employee. I'm barely making, you know what I mean? I'm barely making it. So what if I had a rent? Now I have the tuxedo end, because I'm diversified, and I have alterations. I'm just talking retail. Because alterations, you know, I bring in another $1,000 in alterations and another, you know, so I got 3 businesses going in one. But what if I only had one business? What if I only had the one business and $1,200 in sales? That's not going to cover it. And we all know. We all know what it's like.
And interestingly enough, we have 3 businesses. We have the gallery, which sells arts, crafts, music, books. We have framing, and we have classes. So I think that's a very good, you know, concept to think about. You got to have more than, you got to have.
Yeah, and I believe that that's why I've been successful, is because I've been diversified. And I was real successful the one year that I did tuxedos and I didn't have another store. That was the big year, because it was all pure profit, everything. But you know, I have a friend of mine who opened up a little boutique, R&K boutique, Ruby Avey, and she opened up on the other side of the 7-Eleven. Up on the corner, across from Depot 4, and hers is, I mean, people would walk in. She has such great style and everything, and she pays her rent, I don't know, $500-600 or whatever it is, and she would love to be on Queen Street. She can't afford the rent. Can't afford it. She won't be able to open. You know what? But so, I mean, I have a great landlord. My landlord knows that it's my biggest thing, and one thing too is, in retail, you know, well, maybe not for you because you do, I don't do big Christmas. December kills me, January kills me, February kills me. For all 3 businesses, alterations are my best. that my landlord really works with me too, with the, you know, he really works with me
landlord
with the
works
rent.
with me, too.
Yeah, well, then I bet he does. But, you know, and I don't, you know, I commend people who are in their small business because I don't have the luxury of a paycheck every 2 weeks. In fact, there's still times that I don't get a paycheck because I can't call the electric company and say, hey, you know what, guess what? I'm not paying this week because I want to take home a $300 paycheck. Dana doesn't get paid. But you know, I've been there for full years and I love going to work. I love it. I go there, I get there about 7:30, 8 o'clock every morning, and my husband has to call me like, Dana, come home, make dinner. I'm hungry.
I think one of the things, I mean, when I was looking for a shop downtown, and several years ago, and my first 2 years, and I had a landlord that worked with me on my rent, and unfortunately I had to buy my inventory. I didn't have that luxury. But the amounts of rents that people wanted, $2,500, $3,000, $2,500 a month for rent. They wanted you to sign leases where you were paying part of their insurance and part of their taxes. And it's like, do you think you're in Fairfax? Do you think you're in Washington, D.C.? We're in struggling Martinsburg, West Virginia. And if you can't, if there are no programs through the city that help businesses get established. I've seen other places that do business development grants where you can help subsidize your rent, you can help do your upfront costs for getting in your business. And a lot of these buildings are trashed when you get them. I put over $3,000 into my shop just to get it to look the way I wanted it to look. And when you do that kind of thing, you can't get your feet on the ground. And we've had businesses here that run circles around, and no offense, because we have a great place, but Martinsburg, and I chose Martinsburg. I lived on the other side of hedges ago. I chose Martinsburg. And as far as I'm concerned, Martinsburg runs circles around Berkeley Springs, Shepherdstown, and Charlestown in our location, in the atmosphere, the feel of where we are.
The architecture.
And businesses cannot get your feet on the ground to get a foothold. And that's the bottom line, because there's nothing there for I mean, what is the city doing to help bring people in, to establish these businesses and help people get a foothold?
Do you think that's it? Do you think it's the lack of just people? Just because Shepherdstown has the college, it seems to me, which naturally generates a buzz. You know, I live in Shepherdstown, but I always get the feel that there's always something there. And I think it's because of the kids for a lot of it. But.
Well, I mean, to me, just from the experience that I've had, I was open on Sundays. I had a lot of people come in and stop by. Why isn't everybody open on Sundays? You know, we're a natural loop. We have I-81 rest stops that are very into promoting Martinsburg. We've got one on each end of town, and it's an easy loop on and off, and people would drive through, and they would see me in the glass shop. That was it.
Well, one of the reasons I wasn't open on Sunday is because I needed a day off. I mean, just needed a day off because in the beginning, in the first 3 years, I was the employee. I was a do-all, say-all.
You have to judge what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have such a prime location here, and why we don't have a little hotel downtown, I don't know. We have the train station at the bottom of the hill to draw people in on weekends. Oh my God, I could go on and on and on and on and on. I love Martinsburg.
Do you think maybe the problem is that the owners of these buildings want so much rent for their property?
Yeah,
But there's
that's
no way
yeah.
that the average small business could even begin to come in and stay there.
Exactly. Well, that's sort of the
But don't they still
baseline.
have to pay taxes, they still have, would they rather see empty storefronts, one after another? It doesn't make sense.
I don't know the answer to that because I know my landlord has the mentality of, if I keep the rent low, you're staying.
Exactly.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
Something is better than nothing.
But I don't know.
But at a point,
But I don't, you're real.
yeah, you know, as a landlord, you're absolutely right. Something is better than nothing, and the idea is to build that something into more and more. And as a landlord, to try to hang on to your property
But you're
long
going to hang
enough.
on to your property anyway, you're still going to be paying taxes and receiving nothing.
Right,
Yeah, I
and believe me,
understand.
empty buildings are, you know, not only do they bring in no money, but they're dangerous.
Isn't your insurance more when it's an empty building? Is your insurance more when it's an empty building?
We have not had a completely empty building, so I don't know, but I bet it is.
I know that when he decided to give me Dana's tuxedo, which is directly connected, and we were actually able to knock a hole in the wall that was originally there that was just drywalled up from businesses past. I don't know what was there, it was long before I ever got here. And so I can walk from one business to the other without ever leaving, which is great because I don't need to put an employee there. If I was at another location, I would have to have normal hours, whereas now my normal hours are with the Deja Vu store. That he said, I just want enough money for you to pay, I pay enough rent over there just to cover his kind of insurance expenses and his taxes. That's it, because he wants me there. He's from Martinsburg, so he wants the Martinsburg area to look like their stores, you know, to look active.
There's an awful lot of absentee landlords over downtown.
That's a problem.
And they do live in areas where they get these triple net leases and they get these exorbitant amounts of rents, and it's just it's like they don't live in the reality of what we have here and what it takes to build on that. I mean, when I see places like, my shop, I mean, my biggest compliment is somebody asked me if I'd franchise my shop. And, that was the biggest compliment I ever had. But we had Tuscan Sun and us, and there's been nice shops in there, Blue River. And they went to Shepherdstown because they could not maintain the cost of doing business in Martinsburg. And you have other issues that you have to do as well.
And I know that